Okay, let us start now. A warm welcome to Abode Masters, Hualien Dharma team, and brothers and sisters around the globe to Saturday Hualien Dharma Talk. A very good morning. Let us start the session for today. Today, I would like to share a short accepted Master's teaching. Shrink, keep shrinking the self. Oh, the suffering. The suffering lies in the fact that everyone has their own habitual tendencies. Their hearts are kind, but their habitual tendencies are not. What kind of habitual tendency? It is that their ego is too strong. Everyone has an I and clings to their small self. The power of man can certainly conquer nature. Is that a boastful statement? Humans are insignificant yet cannot shrink themselves. The conflicts between people bring disaster. We often say we must shrink and shrink again. Shrink the self so that we can work together in harmony. Unite our greater selves and deliver the world from suffering. 感恩 to Master's teaching. Now let us send our sincere prayers into the 10 directions. May the Saha land be free from disaster and peace prevails in the world. Let us sing the prayer song with sincere piousness.
In my heart, I feel deep gratefulness. All my heart is filled with sincere prayer. From all corners of the world, let us join our hearts and pray for a world of harmony and peace. In my heart, I feel deep gratefulness. May all the Buddhas hear my prayer. All united with one heart, let us end our hate with love. May there be no suffering hereafter.
May all minds be purified. May there be peace in the community. May there be no disasters in this world. Now let us pray together for universal love and blessing. With loving respect, gratitude, and confidence, let us wish every person in our lives a healthy body, an enlightened mind, and a total fulfillment in universal love. Now let us expand this consciousness to include every person in the world, every being in the universe. Let our unified love make this wonderful world even better. Let us all immerse ourselves in the joyful embrace of universal love. Before we hear the wonderful sharing, let us invite our both masters to lead us in paying homage to the triple gems. Let us pay our respect for these teachings and explanations to the Buddha and Master Cheng Yen by making 3 sincere bows. Please rise, arms together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved abode masters who could join us today. Hey, today we have Sister Kaping who will be sharing with us profound affinity in Bodhgaya, and followed by Master Deshu, the gift of fearlessness. Okay, before that, let us invite Sister Su Ching for the weekly summary. Yeah, I think Sister Su Ching is not available. She's in Taiwan now. Okay, I will share on behalf. I think she can't make it. Okay, so last week weekly summary. Brother Joe, Dharma sharing. Passing the Dharma so wisdom may grow. With disciples who teach like rivers that flow. A good teacher learns, then opens the door, guiding each heart to seek wisdom at its core. In field of practice, we plant seeds of grace, with grace to evolve in a nurturing place. Just as garden of the mind must constantly be tilled, our wisdom grows as compassion is filled. When fears take hold, a teacher who is kind brings light to doubts, bring peace to mind. A healer's path, the medicine king, with insights deep helps spirits take wing. For bitter truth, the heart must strive. Accepting lessons keep hope alive, like taming oneself to reach for greater heights, setting true habits that bring forth the light. We share what we learn, lifting hearts high, growing as teachers under the Tzu sky. Okay, the summary for Master De Huang, the mission of an education volunteer. In early days, Master saw the need for women's nursing education, a noble seed. In September 1989, the college was born, with 107 eager students, their future adorned, guiding the young to values that last, from one to family to nation to world. Our bond is vast. Teach them to share their time and their care, not just for riches, but kindness to share. When doubts appears, seek wise words to hear. Love grows beyond kin, connecting all near. Sharing our journeys, both failure and gain, creating a channel where peace will reign. A virtuous person like a pine stands tall. Though flowers may fade, their shelters is all. Students once questioned the paths they would take, but the master believed in the difference they have made. Critics claim good hearts can't compete, yet master said, a virtuous society is a wonderful feat. A gentle heart blooms in the light. In the light it will grow. Nurtured by kindness, it spreads love below. Cảm for listening. Now we'll hand over to Sister Moon for introducing the next speaker. Cảm.
Okay. Good morning, Master Deshu, Sister Kaping, and all brothers and sisters listening in. Our unwavering affinity brings us yet to another issue of Saturday Heartwarming Talk. Our first speaker today is Sister Kaping, one of Tzu Malaysia's senior sisters, and well known for her dedication and contribution in almost all the missions of Tzu. However, I understand that the mission closest to Sister Kaping's heart is that of education. We all know that she has played a very important role in the successful setting up of Su Ching International School in Malaysia. And I think Affinity has brought her now to spread her work and effort in Bodhgaya. So, namaste, Sister Peng. This morning, we are all very excited to hear about your activities in Bodhgaya. The screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Sister Moon, for the very kind introduction. Yeah, I wanted to share a little bit about my trip to Bodhgaya. And first of all, I must thank Brother Chin for accompanying me for this 2 week trip that started on the 3rd of September to the 19th of September. And of course, thank you, Sister Su Pin, for sparing, her home brother to accompany me on this trip. Well, I've heard a lot and seen a lot of pictures and some videos about Bodhgaya from previous sharings by sisters and brothers. So when it comes to the condition and the kind of suffering that they share, I was kind of mentally prepared, but I was not emotionally ready when I was there from what I've seen. So it was a case of suffering abound, and there is more suffering one after another, especially amongst, the children that really, gave me a lot of heartache. I followed Sister Chui San on her medical visits to a lot of villages. And I picked out these two particular ones. They were all burn victims. This boy, we went to his house several times, but couldn't find him, but finally found him in the school. He was burned, and you can see from the picture here, he lost his finger. And then, his hand was stiff because of the burned skin, and it was kind of distorted. And we learned from him that he actually lived in pain at such young age. And you can see that there is really no smile on his face. Parts of his face was also burnt. And then there is this little toddler. I think she is probably 4 years old. And the back of her hand, she lost her fingers, and the back of her hand actually fused with her wrist. And it's such a, sad situation when you see a little girl like this, when they grow up, I mean, she's still trying to use her thumb, but, it's a sad situation where, at the young age when things happen, the parents couldn't seek medical help early enough and caused so much pain in their lives. And that is this 2-year-old. When we met her, she was crying, she was scratching, and the mom said that she scratches a lot. And the first thing that Brother Chin and I look at this, the two of us, we were scared of monkeypox because, the skin was broken and, parts were coming out. So the mother doesn't know how to seek medical treatment. I think affordability is an issue. And secondly, they live far away. Transportation is probably another issue. And also there is a lack in knowledge of how to handle a situation like this. So it happens that Sister Trisan and I, we went to a pharmacy, and there I saw some neem oil. And I remember from my Ayurvedic doctor that neem oil is actually very, very good for skin diseases. So we bought some. And the top picture was what Sister Trisan sent me 2 weeks later and said, it works, and all these, the little lumps and the wounds have healed. So it's great to finally find something. And now she said, she will bring neem oil wherever she goes, so that anyone with skin problems, she will actually distribute those to them. And the next picture is really more heartaches. This is already not so bad. There were actually worse cases than this. And this man stopped us while, we were walking in the village. And he told me, and then later on, it was translated by our local volunteer, that he's in pain all the time because of his distorted leg. And so he feel pain in his lower back. But there's little that, he can do about it. And before this trip to India in August, I actually went to Sandakan, visited our stateless people and the stateless school. And I must say that, when I felt that the stateless people, the living condition was bad, but what I saw in Bodhgaya in these villages, it's even worse than our stateless people in Sabah. So when their leader, the country of, the leader of this country, I won't name the name, said that, he has successfully eradicated poverty. I'm just wondering, what is his definition of poverty? Because here, I really don't know, what is the hope for these people, because there's no industries. They farm, and because of the visitors, so there is demand for tuk-tuk and some restaurants, but what else is there for them? And that is really, something that we should think about in terms of how we want to help these people getting out of poverty, lifting their standard of living and the quality of living. We went to distribute shoes in many, many schools. And there is this one particular one that really took to my heart. I went to this girl because first I saw her uniform. She was wearing an oversized skirt, oversized top, and she was using safety pin to pin her skirt up. And when I went closer to her, what really shocked me was her expression, which is totally expressionless on her face. And when I look into the window of her soul, it tells me there is really nothing. There is no life in it. And when she stared back at me, it's like as if asking me, what hope do I have? You give me shoes, but how does that help me with my life? And that is really, really heartbreaking. And I took a picture of her, and that it's always in my mind. How could we help these children, right? Giving them shoes, how does that help? But, amidst this heartbreaking despair and helplessness circumstance, there were a few sparks of light, and I call them the seeds of hope. Some of you might have heard about this book, The Path of Good Teachers. This is the first book that was translated outside of the US, and it was translated in Malaysia by our team called the Still Thoughts Translation Team Malaysia, and I was one of the member, and Sister YY as well. So this is a book, it's a compilation of Master Chen Yan's vision for an integrative and holistic education. In there, Master talked a lot about what makes a good teacher, what is a good education, what should society be doing for our children, and role model good values, etc. So I was actually sharing this book online with the teachers and principals in Bodhgaya as well as Lumbini. So I was actually looking forward to the trip to Bodhgaya in meeting these principals and teachers face to face and continue my live sharing there. But little did I know that actually the people who took more interest in this book was actually our Su Ching. So it is actually a book not just for the teachers and parents, but also for the children. So from the first time when Brother Siu said, hey, maybe you should, share with this youth. And I was thinking, what can I share? So I thought, perhaps let's share with them, some pages from the Path of Good Teachers and see how's their response. And they took it really well and requested for more sessions. So during my time there, I shared a total of 8 sessions with them. Each time there were 13 to 15 Su Ching youths, and the sharing was for good 2 hours. I shared, and we also have a breakout group discussion session. And from there, we asked them, which of Tzu Chi's mission most interests you? And most of them say that it's the Tzu Chi education mission and charity. There was this question that Brother Chin posted, what would you like to be? And it's quite interesting, the answers, and it's quite telling why is that so. There was one who said, I want to be Prime Minister. And then another one said, I want to be just like Master Chen Yan, the girl. And then another one said that I want to become an income tax officer because there are lots of crooks in the country. They don't pay tax. And the one who wants to be prime minister says that, I want to change the policy. I want to change this country. And the one who wants to be like Master Chen Yan is that I want to spread more goodness. I want to be like Master, do good for the benefits of others. So all of these basically is telling us that they want change in the country. They see problems. And these are the youth. And therefore, if they really grow up with the virtues in mind, and if we can plant more seeds of goodness in them, then there will be hope for the country to change. So some of the topics of most interest to them that we shared was this one on external appearance, in dressing, eating, living, and moving about. Why is it that it is so important? Because it is a reflection of our inner cultivation and our character. It kind of like opened their eyes to see why, we make them wear uniform, why we insist on the way they walk, etc. So that was of, great interest to them. And then there was one particular chapter on the difference between human beings and sentient beings. So that raised a fair bit of questions on behavior and what could, what they have to change. But the strange thing is that when I asked this question, what do you think you want to change of yourself? They couldn't answer. So I think it is a lot about understanding the self, and maybe it's a culture of them not speaking up so much, identifying their problems. So these are areas that our education team perhaps, could encourage them to look within, to have a better understanding and be more outspoken. Then the other topic was on the religion. It's quite sensitive, but nonetheless, Master has put it in a very nice way of what religious study is all about. And it is about life education. So I believe that that was another eye-opener for them. They were very immersed in the sharing. Sorry. I have got to go back. Sorry. Sorry, I can't view suddenly. Some technical problems here, sorry. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I have to stop share and then share again. Yeah. Okay. So we had quite a number of sessions. And at the end of the 8 sessions, they each wanted a copy of the Paths of Good Teachers. I've highlighted 2 pictures here. These are 2 principles. Yeah, the one in purple, the first one. And when we talk about religion studies, he actually asked this question in a very not so nice tone, and I can understand his frustration. Just like he said, there are so many different religious teachings in India. How to know them all? And I shared with him Master's teaching here. Master is saying that, yeah, there could be many, many different religious teachings, but the true religion teaches about life, how to live our life. So basically, look at the similarities here. It's about discipline. It's about teaching us to do good, speak kind words, think good thoughts, do good deeds. So that is what religion should be. It should be about life education, about walking the right path in the right direction. And then this other one, the second one, the lower left, he was very concerned about many of his students. And so his question was, how do I help every student? They each have different problems. And he has asked me similar question, I believe, online. And my answer to him was that, like what Master say, love each of them like your child. They have to come to you, trust you, to talk to you about their problems. It's very difficult for you, teacher, when you have got 40, 50 students in one class to know all of them. But if they trust you, they know that you love them, they will come to you and express their problems to you. So it's a continuation of, continuous conversation with these teachers and principals. So we have got our monthly book sharing session on different topics. And there is another profound affinity with this one gentleman here, Dr. Prakash. Brother Seo, as usual, wants to make the best use of Brother Chin's time and my time in Bodhgaya. And he say, why don't we go and have dinner with this Dr. Prakash? And we say, okay, let's have dinner. And there, after Dr. Prakash heard about, our background, both Dr. Chin and myself, he said, hey, why don't the 2 of you go and give a talk to students in IIM, India Institute of Management. And that is one of the top university in India. I was thinking, what could I share with them and in such a short period of time? But Brother Chin agreed. So, well, then Dr. Prakash arranged, and it was something that we had less than 4-5 days to prepare a new presentation. So Brother Chin shared on collaboration, and I shared about Tzu Chi's ESG sustainable practice with this group of second-year students. There were about 100 over of them. What came out was, we know at least 2 students took our sharing to heart. These 2, Ritik and Zuka. Zulkarnain is his full name. He is a Muslim from the north of India, very close to the Himalaya. We shared on the Friday evening in IIM, and on Saturday, 2 of them came to our book sharing at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. They seemed to enjoyed it. They took Master's teachings to heart. And Zuka especially is very, very interested in Tzu Chi education system, the holistic way and the focus on character education. Because on his own, with a group of students, also from IIM, they actually go to different local schools to mentor the students there. And they both love the book. So we presented the path of good teachers to the both of them. Then on Sunday, they came to Bodhi Stay to join Diligence Day. I was very, very surprised to see them at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they stayed till almost 3 p.m. And I shared on volunteering. There were two parts to my sharing. The first part was what is volunteering? And then the second part was my experience as a volunteer. After the first part, Ritik actually came to me and say he would like to volunteer to translate for me for the second part of my sharing. And he said the reason he said that, because there were gaps in the translation, he felt, and therefore he thought he could, help to better translate, and he did. After after our session, the Su Ching as well as our local volunteers stood up and cheered for him, meaning that he has done a great job in translating my sharing. And they also stayed back to get to know Su Ching. And after that, the two of them came to me and say that they like to actually help mentor our Tzu Ching because they're pretty ignorant of the education system, the potential, as well as what is actually open out there for them. It's not necessarily that they have to go to a private university. There are actually a lot of other opportunities in public universities that they may not be aware of. So they like to encourage them and mentor this Tzu Ching, which was a great thing. And then the next day on Monday, the day before we left on Tuesday, two of them again came to visit me in the hotel. We spent a great 3 hours. They wanted to talk about my corporate experience and also my
Sister Kaping is offline, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we seem to have lost her. Drop off.
Sister Kaping, you're offline. Can you hear us?
She has dropped off, Sister Moon.
Pardon?
She has dropped off. I think
Yeah,
she's
that's
not
right.
here.
That's right. I don't know whether she realized that or not. I will try
Master
to get...
Tersu is in already. Maybe we can.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Let me see if she can be contacted. Can we give her a small minute to see if she realized, or we proceed? We proceed with Master Tershu. Is that Sister Su Ching?
Yeah, I think so. I will have another session. We will have another session with Sister Kaping.
Another session.
Yeah.
with Sister
Another
Kaping.
session.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, okay. All right, so next, we are very grateful to Master Deshu for taking time off, to share with us a snippet of the wisdom behind the title of a talk today, which is the Gift of Fearlessness. The title itself, when I first look at it, I was telling myself, just these 4 words, gave me a certain feeling, an uplifting feeling that, we have so much fear in our lives every day.
I'm sorry, I'm back.
Right, so you're back.
Sorry. Yeah, which page was I on when I was cut off?
You were on the page where
Before a day before you leave for
Oh, okay, the
that
day before.
translation. I
Yeah,
think
after
Ritik
that.
after
Ritik
that.
was doing
Yeah,
translation for you.
Okay, is this the one?
yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So two of them came visit again. And they at the end they said, okay, they will become translator. During our diligence day, and they will also invite others to join. And what is most promising was that they said they will consider signing up for volunteering. And this is a big thing, because for IIM students, it's a 5-year course, degree plus postgraduate, and they study Monday to Friday, 13 subjects each semester. So 8 o'clock in the morning, and they finish at 4:30. So for them to say that they will actually sign up to volunteer and to come in on the weekends to help mentor, and that is big, I felt, for them to commit. And I believe, therefore, these are actually the bright sparks. These are the seeds of our hope. And, if we can get more of these young, the youth, and these are the creme de la creme, right? IIM is very, very expensive. I think it's something like 35,000 US in terms of fee a year. So if we can get more of these students to come in and join Tzu they will definitely, could help to spread Master's words to more people out there, and to a wider range of people in the society. And this, I believe, is also what I would like to do the next time when I go back to Bodhgaya, to meet more students and also more entrepreneurs, so that we could actually have a wider range of people joining Tzu Chi activities. So with that, thank you. I would very quickly pass back to Sister Moon. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm sure we will need another session with you on your, your full program there. Thank you very much, Sister Kaping. Clearly, it is a good thing that you got the young fellas' interest, because I think you have planted the seeds in spreading the correct message to help them to uplift their own society. So really, this is what is from one to infinity. Yeah. Okay. So before we move on to the next speaker, can we quickly take a group photo first? Sister Lily? Everybody, maybe we can switch on our video. Are we done? Sister Lily, are we done?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. Let me know when you're finished.
Okay. 1. Okay, Cảm ơn, it's done. Cảm ơn so much.
Okay. All right. We get back to Master Deshu again, which was halfway through the introduction about her title of her talk today, The Gift of Fearlessness. I think that we will not waste too much time. Master Deshu, we would like to, and we, the title itself, it is very interesting, and we would like to really get on to your sharing on the gift of fearlessness. Master Deshu, can you take the screen now?
Okay, so I hope everybody can hear me. And let me pull out my PPT. Okay. So I think first of all, I'm very grateful to have the Affinity to give a sharing in English on this topic, because for the past few months, I have been giving a series of 3 talks on the Morning Volunteer Assembly in Chinese. The talks are on precepts. So for the English talk, I actually extracted some of the key points from those talks and put it together in one session. So basically, the talk today will be the essence of the 3 talks. And I'm also very grateful because yesterday we had the typhoon and the abo was out of power. The power was restored yesterday evening, and this morning they scheduled to have a maintenance in the abo for the electricity. So the abo will be out of power again at 8:40. But it's so fortunate that the session that we have is from 7 to 8. So we actually missed the power outages. Okay, so basically the reason why I want to talk about this topic on precepts is because I read a book by Venerable Yin Sun, who is Master's teacher. And I find that he organized the Buddha's teaching so well in such a clear way that for people to understand that I wanted to share some of the key points with people. So precepts is a topic that people don't really like because they want freedom and be able to do what they want. And they see that precepts seems to be too restrictive. But if people act as freely as they like without boundaries, then it might bring harm to themselves and others. So there is a need for people to learn about the proper way of conduct so they don't cause harm. But what I want to share with you is not the line-by-line precepts, but the spirit behind the precepts. If we can get in touch with the spirit of the precepts, then we'll find that it is actually a very, very beautiful teaching. And we will not find them restrictive, but come to see that the compassion and the respectful life behind those rules of conduct. But first, let's look at the state of the world right now. So Taiwan recently experienced a very strong typhoon, Typhoon Kangray. And the wind was so strong that it caused a lot of damages, including the above. And right before this typhoon, Tropical Storm Tremi struck the Philippines. It caused severe devastation to the country. It caused mudslides, flooding, and casualties. So we are seeing that natural disasters are becoming more severe with stronger winds and more intense rain. And they are threatening people's lives, making our world very dangerous to live in. Then there's also inflation, which makes living difficult for people around the world. Like recently, I just saw the news that in Canada, the number of people visiting food bank soared in the past 3 years. So every month, nearly 2 million people rely on the food bank for food. And in Japan, a bowl of ramen noodle now costs more than 1,000 yen. The ramen noodle is considered cheap, affordable food in Japan. So the stores, they all try to keep it under 1,000 yen. But because of the rising cost of ingredients and energy, many noodle stores, they are going out of business. And those that are still operating had to raise their prices. So the inflation around the world started 3 years ago after the pandemic, and then with the supply shortage and the war in Ukraine and other factors, that the prices just keeps on increasing, and many people are struggling to make a living. And then there are also people with bad intentions in the world. For example, right now, AI technology is something that is very popular right now, and a lot of companies, they are all using it. And there's also a software that can generate human voice using this machine. And people are using, some people, they're using this technology for scams. Like in Taiwan, there's a news of an elderly man who nearly got scammed. So this man received a call from a person telling him that he is his son. And he said that he needed money to purchase computer equipment. So he asked the elderly man to wire him some money. Now, this man believed the scammer because he sounded just like his son. So he went to the bank and told the bank teller he needed to wire money. And the bank teller saw that this elderly man looked very nervous and wanted to wire a large sum of money. He suspected a scam, so he called the police. Now, the police arrived at the bank to investigate. And at first, this man didn't believe that he was being scammed. And so the police and the bank teller persuaded the elderly man to video chat with his alleged son. So in the video call, the scammer blocked the camera so his face won't show up. And the moment he saw a policeman standing next to the elderly man, he hung up the call. Well, it was then the elderly man realized that he was being scammed, but he couldn't believe it because the scammer sounded so much like his son. So humans have invented this AI technology and more people are using it. But technology is neither good nor bad. It depends on how we use them. But there are people in the world with bad intentions and they are using technology to benefit themselves through harming other people. So this is the state of our world now. It's deteriorating. The climate is not favorable. Life is getting difficult and people are losing morality. So what kind of world do we want to live in? What kind of life do we want to live? So I believe that everyone wants to live in a peaceful world without disasters, live in a prosperous society where everyone has jobs, be financially secure, and live a good life. So this is our ideal, but reality is not like this. And since the state of the world is created by humans, there are ways of making our society and our world better. So this is why Master tells us to do good deeds and create blessings, because blessings can mitigate disasters. But doing good deeds is not enough, because humans have to stop doing bad deeds. Otherwise, while we are helping people, relieving them of their suffering, more sufferings are being created. It never ends. So there's a need for people to stop doing harm. To stop harm is to practice precepts. And practicing precepts can bring harmony to the world. And so in Buddhism, ethics or morality is called Shila. And Shila has many meanings. It has to do with virtuous ethical conduct, moral discipline, precepts, and purifying one's heart. And the spirit behind cultivating Shila is harmlessness. So as we all live on the earth, the welfare of all those living on the earth are connected. But when other people are not doing well, it can affect us as well. Like take the war in Ukraine, for example. After the war started 2 years ago, and sanctions put in place, prices of goods have increased. So even though we are not in Ukraine and do not directly experience the war, people around the world are all impacted by the war. So if we want to be well, other people also have to be well. And in order for people to be well, people first need to do no harm. So there's a need for us to nurture the spirit of harmlessness and bear in mind the welfare of others as well as ourselves. So the Buddha taught people how to not to do harm. He gave people the 5 precepts: no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, and no drinking alcohol. And in Tzu Chi, we have 10 precepts. The first 5 are the traditional Buddhist 5 precepts, and the other 5 are added by Master to adapt to the modern times. And so they are do not smoke, use drugs, or chew bento nuts, do not gamble or speculate, be filial to your parents, and be moderate in speech and attitude, abide by traffic laws, and do not participate in politics or demonstration. But there are some issues with written precepts. When the Buddha first formed the Sangha, the monastic community, he didn't set any precepts because the monastics who follow the Buddha were really intended on cultivating themselves and follow the teachings. They behaved themselves. And later on, people who joined the Sangha were not so pure-hearted, and they would do things that were not appropriate. So the Buddha then set rules of conduct. Every time someone misbehaved, the Buddha set rules. And over time, the precepts grew to be over 200 for the monastics. And there's a story in the sutra where a monk named Vajraputta, he complained to the Buddha about there being too many precepts. At the time, it was 150. And he said he couldn't learn them all. So the Buddha asked him if he could learn just 3 teachings. And he said yes. Now the Buddha told him the 3 teachings. There were precepts, samadhi, which is concentration, and wisdom. So by contemplating on these 3 teachings, Vajraputta attained Arhat. So this story illustrates that when there are too many rules, it is hard to learn them all. And another problem with written precepts is that they were said 2,500 years ago, and times have changed. Cultures are different, and new things emerge. Like, for example, back in the Buddha's time, there was alcohol, and drinking too much alcohol can make people drunk and lose their senses. And drinking is also bad for the body. So the Buddha forbade people drinking alcohol. And now we have cigarettes, even electronic cigarettes and drugs that are harmful to our brain and our health. But they are not in the precepts. By using those substances are harmful. So if we look up the Buddha's 5 precepts on the internet now, the 5th precept of no drinking has been expanded to refrain from intoxicants that cloud the mind. So given that there are too many rules and some of the rules are outdated or the rules don't include what comes after the Buddha's time, the way to go about learning precepts is to learn and nurture the spirit behind the precepts. Precepts, to me, I think it's more important to learn about the spirit of Shila or precepts, how to practice them in our life, and adapting them as times change. So there are 2 aspects of Shila. One is to practice wholesome deeds. This means to be very active in doing good deeds. And the second one is to develop self-discipline. So we have to train ourselves not to do harmful things. The Buddha called the 5 precepts the 5 great gifts that bestow freedom from danger, freedom from animosity, and freedom from the oppression of limitless numbers of beings. Like, for example, when practicing the precept of not taking life, a person does not give rise to the thought of killing or harming any living beings. So at any time, that person poses no threat or fear to anyone. And when practicing the precept of no stealing, a person does not take the possessions of anyone or any living beings, thus protecting the possessions of all people and all living beings. So when we practice the 5 precepts, we can give countless living beings the gift of fearlessness. So feeling no fear, people does not give rise to hatred, enmity, or harm. And so everyone can enjoy peace and happiness. And so when we are in touch with the spirit of Shila, we'll come to see the beauty of it. Behind the precepts are a reverence for life, a spirit of kind-heartedness, benevolence, and altruism. So spiritual cultivation is not just about doing something, it's also about not doing something. All living beings desire to be happy and feel pain just as we do. So we should abstain from all actions that deprive living beings of happiness or increase their pain. But abstaining from things is neither immediately inspiring or dramatic. We don't see a sudden progress in non-harming or in non-acquisitiveness or in not coveting things which are not ours, in the same way that we get an immense joy, we get an immediate joy from helping people. By practicing precepts sincerely, sila is steadily accumulating and maturing in our heart. So the Buddha said that sila is the most beautiful adornment for a human being. It's the only fragrance that is all pervasive. But the skill is to remember it, to recollect the beauty of virtue, bring it up to fresh, and give joy to your heart and mind. So the one thing to remember in practicing the precepts is the golden rule. Do unto others what you will have others do unto you. So this is nurturing our compassion and empathy. So take the first precepts, for example. Say someone wants to take my life. I fear for my life. I don't want to be killed. Now, if I don't want to be killed, other people also wouldn't want to be killed. And feeling for the other person, I practice no killing, even extending this precept to not harming the other person. And then I take no joy in harming people. And take stealing as another example. When I see an object, the thought that should occur to my mind is, this thing might belong to somebody. It's not mine. And I shouldn't take it or thinking about taking it. So by thinking in this way, we have other people's welfare in our mind. We are protecting other people's property by not taking it. But there is one caveat to practicing precepts, which is that precepts has to go hand in hand with compassion and forgiveness. If we attempt to uphold a strict level of sila without a spirit of goodwill and compassion, without a kind and forgiving heart, then we can easily fall into the traps of self-righteousness, a false sense of superiority, and contempt for the unvirtuous. So if we practice precepts without compassion or forgiveness, it can make us quite judgmental. It can make us see the faults of people and look down on them. And so we have to remember that we are all human beings. People make mistakes. We make mistakes. This is why we learn. So I remember there was one time I was going through some afflictions and I caused some trouble for my team. And later I made an apology to one of my team members. Now she has a very big heart. When she heard my apology, she immediately replied to me, apology accepted. So when I heard that, I felt relieved and forgiven. The weight of guilt just lifted. So this experience taught me that to always nurture a big heart and be forgiving. But it's not so easy to practice precepts in the world we live in now because it is filled with impurities. We are surrounded by temptations, violence, incorrect views, and many negative things. People are very, very easily influenced by the environment. If we are in a wholesome environment, we're likely to do good. If we are in an unwholesome environment, we're likely to do bad. And so as our world is deteriorating and people are losing their morality and we see crimes are being committed every day, when we live in an unwholesome environment for a long time, we become desensitized and come to regard bad deeds as the norm. And over time, we'll lose the ability to discern right from wrong, harm from beneficial. Take eating meat, for example. It is now part of our culture to eat meat, and people consider that as the norm. But eating meat is harmful to the animals, to the planet, and to our Western life. And there's also consumerism Nowadays, people like to buy things, whether they need it or not, but wasteful spending is harmful to the planet because we're using up a lot of Earth's resources and we are producing a lot of waste. And so this is why the world is deteriorating, because people cannot discern right from wrong, and the influence of doing bad is stronger than doing good. So there is a need for us to develop a spiritual strength to protect ourselves from the negative influences by practicing precepts. There is a story in Venerable Insun's book about practicing precepts. Back in the Buddha's time, some cultivators were afraid of temptations. They feared that if they get attached to desires, they'll fall into the lower realms and cannot be liberated. So they went to live in forests, somewhere remote and quiet, away from people and villages. But they couldn't always stay in the forest. Sometimes they still need to go into villages and interact with people. Yeah. And when they come in contact with an environment that's filled with temptations, if they cannot control their heart and mind, they might give in. So the problem does not lie in the environment and the temptations from outside. It lies within our heart. If we still have afflictions like greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt, we are susceptible to outside influences. And so Master teaches us to be a bodhisattva and go among people and serve. So she said that to do that, we need to have a set of rules of conduct for ourselves, and that is precepts. We are to have self-discipline. Otherwise, we could be attached to fame, wealth, and attached to what good karma will gain by giving of ourselves. A true living bodhisattva has the mentality of giving without asking for anything in return. They give joyously and willingly, and practicing precepts can keep our heart away from greed. They prevent us from having unwholesome thoughts. So we need to be aware of our thoughts and check to see if our thoughts have gone astray. If it has gone astray, then we need to stop it. And our thoughts are constantly changing. They come and go. Some are wholesome thoughts, some are not wholesome thoughts. When unwholesome thoughts enter our mind, precepts can help us prevent ourselves from doing bad things. So even though it is hard for us to practice precepts in our world right now because of the unwholesome environment but I think that the unwholesome environment we're in actually helps us develop our ability to practice precepts. It's like our immune system. It has to come in contact with germs and viruses so that our white blood cells can learn the different types of viruses and bacteria. By fighting the viruses and bacteria, we stay healthy. It's the same with practicing precepts. Through interacting with people and experiencing different life situations, we come to see what's harmful, what's beneficial, what is good, what is bad, what is right, and what is wrong. And then we choose to do what is beneficial and good, and not go with the harmful and the bad. So given that our world has so much things going on, there are always new things to explore and try. Our families, friends, or coworkers might invite us to do something with them. And under all these influences, it is very easy to go with the norm and end up doing harmful deeds, sometimes without us realizing it. So how do we develop the strength to cultivate sila? Or another way of asking this question is how to prevent ourselves from breaking precepts. So the way to do it is to catch something when it's small. Right? Before a person commits a very serious bad deed, he often overlooks minor misdemeanor, thinking that it's nothing, it's just something small. And this kind of thinking is the cause that leads to a more serious consequence. It's like a levee that has a crack. If we don't quickly fix the crack, you'll eventually break. So it's the same with practicing precepts. When we make minor mistakes and we're not aware of them, the habit of doing small bad deeds can accumulate to something big. And Master once told of a story. A person stole a pair of shoes from a merchant, and stealing a pair of shoes doesn't seem like it's something serious. After this person passed away, he was reborn as a donkey. And as a donkey, he needed to pay back the debt of stealing that pair of shoes by giving the merchant a ride. So let's watch a video of Master tells story, where she tells the story of the merchant and the pair of negative karma. So in our life, the things we encounter may be consequences of the small bad karma we've done in our past. It may be something that doesn't go well for us, or some accidents we encountered. So we should never overlook any small bad deeds. Okay. So negative karma is like an illness. Like chronic illnesses like heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure can cause pain and discomfort and affect the quality of people's life. And some people have to live with the illness and manage it for the rest of their life. This is why doctors tell people prevention is better than cure. It's better to keep your body healthy so you don't fall ill. Once you fall ill, it's not hard. We didn't get to the root of the problem. So we keep on creating negative karma and receiving negative consequences. So whatever situation we encounter and whether we'll remember all the rules of the precepts, if we can develop two awarenesses, we'll be able to keep our behavior in check. One is to have a sense of shame regarding unwholesome actions. The second is to have an intelligent fear of the consequences of unwholesome actions. These two teachings are based respectively on respect for self and respect for others. Respect for life, our own and others, is the foundation of noble conduct. And there's one thing about making mistakes. After we realize we've made a mistake and the consequences it caused, don't over criticize ourselves for making mistakes. As humans, we're imperfect and we make mistakes. As long as we know that we've made a mistake and we are determined to change and not to do it again, then we move on. Don't hold on to our mistake or the guilty feeling. So after we learn our lessons, just move on. If we hold on to our mistake and the regrets and cannot let go, they'll hinder us from growing spiritually. And so here is how I practice nurturing the spirit of Sila, which I believe that prevention is better than a cure. And there's a saying in Buddhism, living beings are afraid of the consequences of negative karma, but bodhisattvas are afraid of creating the cause of negative karma. So I don't want my life to be full of hardships and go through a lot of suffering. So I will focus on not creating negative karma in the first place. And since the cause of doing wrong deeds stems from the 5 spiritual poisons, greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt, all I need to do is be aware of my thoughts and action. If I detect I'm doing something out of greed or anger, I will try to transform those negative thoughts to something positive. Like, for example, there's a person I used to dislike. I used to get into arguments with her because I think she is self-centered and not very considerate of other people. And she tends to think from her perspective and not from others. And later on, I learned that this person had a rough childhood. So that's probably why she's the way she is now. So with this understanding, I transformed my anger toward her to that of sympathy. So after I had my first 1 or 2 arguments with this person, I realized that I have anger toward this person. And I caught my anger when it was just starting. So when she has issues with me again, I don't argue with her. I let her talk. I try to listen to her and figure out what her needs are. And at the moment she was talking to me, I practiced understanding and forbearance. Then I won't accumulate grudges toward her. So what I accumulate instead is understanding and forbearance. I'm seeing people who have bad relationship with others. It started out with something that makes both of them unhappy, but they didn't resolve the matter and kept this unhappy experience in their heart. And next time something happened again, it added on to their first unhappy experience. And so their unhappiness turned to a dislike to each other, and then they would get into arguments. Their dislike grew into resentment. Then they don't talk to each other and they don't want to work together. So this is what can happen if we don't catch the seed of unhappiness when it is still small. That seed can germinate into a dislike, becomes a seedling of resentment. If it takes root, then you'll take a lot of effort uprooting that hatred. So to me, it is better to prevent something bad from happening than to deal with the consequences afterwards. It's a lot easier to take care of things when it's still small, rather than wait until the levee broke with all the water gushing in and then try to repair it. So what happens when people don't practice precepts? Humans will accumulate more and more negative karma, which eventually forms into a collective negative karma. And when the collective negative karma comes, everyone suffers. And because it's collective, just like the typhoon that we experienced, when it comes, everyone in Taiwan affected by it. So in an episode of Life Wisdom, Master said, the spreading of hell-like conditions in this world has begun. The pit of hell is rising higher and higher and is about to connect with this world. So we need to awaken quickly. Right, so the collective negative karma is like creates hell-like conditions in the world, and we are seeing it happening. It's becoming more and more frequent. And in the Buddha Sutras, some of them have described what hell is like. For example, there is a hell called Fire Mountains, where the entire mountain is on fire. And in the summertime, we often see news of wildfires, especially in the US, Canada, and some countries in Europe. The fire is wide scale and it burns for weeks and weeks. It burned down people's houses and even took people's lives. And there's another hell called fiery arrows. In Chinese, it's called Hualien Diyu. And in this hell, there are many arrows with fire on them. And the arrows will shoot at the beings in hell, give them a lot of pain and suffering. So in the ancient times, the arrows are used as weapons. In modern times, we use rockets as weapons. And so the Chinese words are the same. So Huojian can refer to arrows with fire or rockets. And the pictures we're seeing now on the screen are conflicts between Israel and Hamas. So one rocket can damage a building and kill many people. And the two sides have fired many rockets. And the last time I checked the news, over 40,000 people have died in Gaza. And those who survived live a very difficult life. So these are two examples of hell mentioned in the sutra that we are seeing in the world. So as the world deteriorates and humans create a lot of negative karma, there will be a lot of suffering. But the Buddha is very, very compassionate. He did not want people to suffer from negative karma. So he taught people about precepts. And precepts are like a lifesaver. If we fall into water and we have a lifesaver to grab onto, it can keep us afloat and prevent us from drowning. And so we should really cherish and protect the precepts like we keep the lifesaver in good condition. If we don't keep the lifesaver in good condition and it has leaks, we might get drowned. So Master teaches us to be bodhisattvas to help people in suffering. and bodhisattvas make vows to come to the world again and again to benefit people. So precepts are the lifesaver that protects bodhisattvas from falling into the lower realms as they carry out their vows to save people in the sea of suffering. By learning about precepts and the spirit behind them, we can avoid creating negative karma and keeping ourselves safe, as well as not harming other people. So to summarize my talk, after learning about the spirit of the precepts, I find it to be a very beautiful teaching. So behind the do not do this and do not do that, there is the spirit of compassion. So through practicing precepts, we are nurturing the spirit of harmlessness and offer people the gift of fearlessness. And it's okay if we can remember all the precepts, just remember the golden rule. Do unto others what you will have others do unto you. And put ourselves in other people's shoes and always keep the welfare of others in mind. Then we will not harm them. And it is also very important to believe in the law of karma and have an intelligent fear of the consequence of unwholesome actions. If we're aware of the negative consequences of our conduct, we'll have second thoughts about doing harmful deeds and stop doing them. And by practicing precepts continuously, we develop the strength and the virtue of moral conduct, giving off the fragrance of virtue. So imagine if everyone in the world can do that, our world would be a peaceful and harmonious world. So I hope by sharing the teachings on precepts, people won't be so against precepts and maybe take an interest in learning more about them and start practicing them in their life. So this is my talk this morning, and I hope that everyone can cultivate both wisdom and blessings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Master Teshu, for your message this morning. Yes, I think that for myself, for my own personal journey, I find that practicing precepts, and of course, practicing means every day over a period of time. If we practice the precepts correctly, it gives me a very calm, quiet, happy state of mind. And this state allows me to create a more harmonious environment around me and the people around me. And it helps to develop a very positive energy, and it flows to everyone, who I come into contact with. And I think that the collective effort of such a practice, the collective effort of having this positive energy around everybody really helps to alleviate a lot of fear, because we live with so much fear today, fear of bad health, fear of being robbed, fear of whatever, So your message is very timely. As I say, the gift of love, the 4 words itself, just the title, it gives a very uplifting a feeling, even before you give this talk. Yeah. So Kan'an Master Teshu for your valuable gift this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anybody who would have something to ask Master Teshu? Well, if there's none, then we can close the session for today. I ask you to stand up and we offer 3 bows to the Buddha. Yeah. Okay. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow for our abode master. Okay. Thank you everyone for your company this morning. We end our session for this Saturday, and we look forward to seeing you yet again next Saturday. All right. So